morning, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Melt with me, Ritvika Gupta. Before we begin today, we'd like to take a moment to remember Rudratej Singh, CEO of BMW India, known popularly as Rudy, who passed away suddenly last Monday at the age of 46. Rudy had earlier been the global president of Royal Enfield after a 16-year stint at Hindustan Unilever. Rudy was an unconventional marketer, making his mark building what he called his zero GRP marketing at Royal Enfield, where he used absolutely no mass media. Rudy will be missed. Our thoughts go out to his family and friends. On that somber note, let's take a look at what we have in store for you on this episode of Melt. With the COVID-19 pandemic bringing the economy to a halt, banks and non-banking financial companies are going to face widespread defaults from corporates and customers whose earnings have eroded. Can these companies be human and display empathy? To answer this question, we'll be speaking to Ramesh Iyer, Vice Chairman and Managing Director of Mahindra & Mahindra Financial Services. But before that, let's get Anant on board. So Anant, tell us about your conversation with Ramesh Iyer and how is he dealing with the situation?
Ritvika, money products are very complicated. It's not like selling toothpaste where, customer goes, pays for the toothpaste, takes the toothpaste and goes home and the transaction is over. With money products, it's far more complicated. There's a process, there's a whole process. And the sale process begins when somebody wants to borrow money because money is the stock in trade. And then borrows the money, but the sale closes only when the money is returned. That's when the finance company or the bank or whatever can book profits. So, in this case, at any given point in time, every single one of the customers owes a finance company money. And therefore, the profit or potential losses are lying with the customer. So what do you do with the customer when the customer has a difficult time? And, Mahindra luckily has got a philosophy, and it's good to see that Ramesh Iyer is more focused on the philosophy of the Mahindra Group than on pound shillings and pence.
Thanks, Anant. Let's have a look at the chat. The interview today was recorded on Zoom and unfortunately the footage turned out to be very patchy. So we have transcribed the interview which will be displayed on the screen for you. Our sincere apologies. With that, let's get ready to melt with Ramesh Iyer.
Ramesh, these are very difficult times for any CEO anywhere. So what is your biggest challenge in your job now?
I think the biggest challenge is, first of all, to convince yourself to think differently, right? I mean, if you've been in a business, you've been running the company for long, you're used to certain pattern and method. Suddenly, overnight, everything changes. So I think the first and foremost is to convince yourself you need to start thinking very differently. I think
Right.
Second is, these are not commercial disruptions. So you can't be ruthless about it. You've got to be extremely cautious, careful, emotionally connect, and your communication has to be of a different type, which we are not very used to, right? I mean, you come into a commercial disruption, you don't achieve your budgets, things go wrong, you are very different. Versus these are times nobody's fault, and therefore you need to be very different from you were ever before.
But is it possible to be removed from the commercial? That is a challenge for a finance company, for a company like yours. How do you remove yourself from the commercial?
I think, commercial is a given. That's the reason we are all in business. We're trying to do whatever best we can. But, these are times, if you ask me, what's our top of the mind focus for the senior leadership that I'm in touch with, is to first and foremost make sure that whomsoever you're associated with, be it your employee, be it your consumer, I think first and foremost is to understand their well-being, what are their challenges, right? I think we have time. I don't think we need to find a commercial solution within the next 15 days. But what we
Right.
need to really find a solution to is what are the sentiments of people? What are they thinking about? What's bothering them the most? And at that stage, are you increasing the pressure or are you kind of diluting the pressure? So
Right.
I would think top of the mind today is well-being of people. That's what the talk is all about.
So tell me, how do you go about gathering these thoughts? I mean, there are two sets of stakeholders. One is your employees, one is the consumer. So how do you go about finding out what they're thinking, what they're going through?
So I think first let's talk about the employee part of it. So I'm
Sure.
asking myself a question, right? What's going through my mind? So I'm saying, okay, if we have to talk to people about we're going to bring down cost, right? That's going to be everybody's priority. Where do you begin this cost reduction? Is it reducing from people cost, or people cost is the last cost? So I have actually talked to my people and I'm telling them that, having finished the previous year almost up to March, so let's not worry about what are we going to do for the previous year bonuses, because everyone's
Right.
top of the mind. That's a question. Are we going to get that, not get that? So I'm
Right.
saying let's wait for our results. I don't think we're going to not pay you anything. We are not going to deprive you of that. So that's a cost we will have to incur, even if going forward, that's not the reality. The second is I'm trying to tell them that if you volunteer to tell us what are all the costs that at this stage we should apply our mind and reduce. And if that is sufficient enough, then we don't need to move up to people cost. And I must tell you that for a financial services, however we may talk about technology, etc., people are the only assets. So I'm kind of thinking to myself and asking a question: if a manufacturing company is not producing, but will they not maintain their machine? Will they deprive the machine of its maintenance? Will they say, no, let it rust because we have no work for next 10 months? So I think if we were to look at that as an equal to say people are the only assets of a financial services company, I think it's extremely important that they are well maintained. Then
Right.
confidence is built. You build their new skills. Talk to them very openly about what are the likely changes at the ground, right? And then get them to speak to the consumer. They will then know the reality that if this is what the consumer is going through, I am going to be affected because of that. And this is the time, therefore, I have to be more responsible and accountable and acceptable. This
Right.
is not going to happen, believe in me, this is not going to happen by me sending out a mail or a office order to say that we are bringing down everybody's salary or whatever. Because this will all have negative impact as we move along. And who knows, if all of us are lucky, in 3 months' time, things starts to look up good. Then how do you reverse these kind of thought process? So I think
Right.
it's better it comes bottom up. So put it across to them the reality, expose them to the reality at the customer end, and I'm reasonably sure they would come back and say, let's do the following thing.
So tell me, what is the communication that you're sending out every day, and in what form are you sending it out?
So I think as soon as this happened and the lockdown was announced, I did a recorded message and I spoke to them through the message saying that these are difficult times. None of us know how long can this be. We do not even know what's the outcome that we're all going to have after this ends at some stage. But these are a time where we have to become more matured, we have to become more responsible. And therefore, first and foremost is let's honor every administrative orders that's given to us. Let's not venture out doing heroic things and make it more difficult for government or the administration. So that's the first level of message which went, which therefore intertwined to say we are not going to question you on performance, but we will want you to be cautious and careful in what you do. The second message that it had very clearly was, at this stage, don't worry about what happens to our business and collections and things like that. I think first and foremost, worry about how do we align ourselves to this new reality? What are we planning to do sitting at home? Third is engage with the customer and ask them about what is their thinking, what kind of help are they expecting. My belief is the consumers may come back and tell that I may not be able to repay you for next 6 months, but will you help me with some short-term loan for next 6 months because this is my priority.
Right.
I do not want the consumers who are not intentional defaulters to be called defaulters. They are just circumstantial delays.
So tell me now, what is your normal schedule when you're working from home, which is a very different world from going to your head office? What is your normal work schedule? How do you get in touch and keep in touch with your key partners and your colleagues?
So, but let me tell you to not to become lazy. So I get up
Right.
as I normally. I finish my whatever exercises and things like that that I need to do. I have my bath, have my breakfast. So as though I'm going to office. So I'm ready the time that I would have otherwise left types. And then get on to, we have a scheduled meeting that we organize for the next 1 week. We have organized to say what kind of meetings are we going to have. And I must tell you that if we had a steering committee earlier once a week, now it's almost every day. The
Right.
reason is that we pick up a topic and we discuss about it to say, and some of this we would have never done if we were to be in office. So there are some discussions which happen which we would have missed out if we were to be in office. So those get done for sure. We had two dealer council meeting done through this process. Across the country, we invited auto and tractor dealers into two different sessions, and we had a very long meeting of understanding on what are their challenges, what's their expectations, etc. I also head the association that is FIDC, and therefore we had regulatory meetings and things like that. So, and last 2 weeks has been extremely busy from a media perspective. They want to understand what's happening to NBFC, who will, do what kind of a thing. So I think it's been a pretty busy week or two. One good thing I found in this format is you remain very focused to what you're wanting to talk about. There are no wastage of time. And therefore, if the meeting is for 15-20 minutes, the agenda is very clear. We just speak around the agenda and close it and not go all over the place. But there is one weakness I found in this format as well. You can't take really serious HR decisions, because when you take HR people decisions, you want to see and look into people. You want to feel their body language. You want to see their readiness and acceptance. Those touch and feel is not there in your decision process.
Right.
And therefore, some of those emotional decisions don't get taken.
So tell me, how much of a help is it for you to belong to the group that you belong to? And what is the group philosophy that helps you in taking decisions today?
I think that's the biggest help, right? I mean, from day one, as soon as this unveiled, you must have seen tweets from Anand, and then the
Right.
group really came up to, wanting to provide the service to the nation. So they got into manufacturing of ventilators. They talked about the masks. They talked about sanitizers. They talked about pledging some support to the government. All kinds of things happened. So therefore, the whole philosophy was towards how could this group be of a great help to the nation at this stage. And believe me, there was no talk about what will happen to what kind of business, at least for the first 2 weeks or so. Then we had, of course, our group executive board, where this was discussed more seriously to understand, what would be the employee sentiments, how do we handle that. So we're trying to do a group level thing for all the employees, so that everyone is on a very standard approach, and not each company takes its own decision and creates some kind of a disruption out there. It's only after all of that was done, we are now beginning to talk about, which businesses could have what kind of a challenge and otherwise. And therefore, there were various committees which are looking at cash flows. There are committees looking at business opportunities. There were committees looking at the dealer needs, etc., etc. But I think the group's thought process, the group's whole mindset and philosophy of have to be helpful to the nation in a situation like this, I think sets the tone for everybody to be around.
Now tell me, how important is empathy? This is a word you use now in the conversation with me. How important is empathy to you and your business?
I think it's the paramount item, right? I mean, I would think it's the strategic differentiator, if you ask me, if one was to work in rural India. Because as I just explained about customer segment, etc., most of the time, these people are in some difficulty or the other. It's either economic slowdown sometime, the monsoon failure sometime, vehicle meeting with accident sometime, sudden health issue in a family sometime, and they're just earning enough to be able to meet their two ends on a daily basis. And when they get into these kind of situation, it's for us to understand their challenge and provide them a solution rather than becoming an additional problem. And that's exactly true to our employees. I mean, it's a business which requires tremendous element of empathy as well as trust. And therefore, the whole model is built on empowerment. And if you empower somebody, you better trust them. Otherwise, don't empower.
So, Ramesh, I'm not going to ask you what do you think will happen in the next 2 months or 3 months. But do you think any reset of the entire business is going to happen at the end of this, when we get out of this lockdown?
I think surely some things will happen, which is, first of all, we will have to rebuild confidence of both people, employees, as well as consumers. Because the families will always guide them to say, don't go in public places, avoid traveling, don't go to this place, all kinds of stuff. There will be this pressure. So therefore, we'll have to first understand that part of the sentiment and ensure that there is adequate confidence that is built in people to come back to do what they were doing. So that's one change for sure will happen. I think the second that would happen, I guess, is people will start to look at, especially in our business, there's so much of physical interaction, even while lending as well as while recovering. Now the consumers will decide to say, can I pay your installments through some other means instead of physically coming and meeting you? So to some extent, the digital solutions would possibly reach that market. I think the third that would happen is many of them will even question their business. Like for example, the aggregators, all businesses which are very driver dependent, like for example, heavy commercial vehicle or this aggregator that we just talked about. These businesses will take a little longer to stabilize because the driver will be one of the biggest problems. So they may not return back to their base station so very easily. They've all gone now. They'll finish the harvest. Monsoon will hit. They'll finish the sowing. Then they'll say, why not wait for the next harvest? So I would think by the time they return back to where they were originally here, they would not come before November, December kind of a situation. So for 6 months, these kind of businesses could go through high pressure point. And the viability of all these consumers could also come down, right? Like just imagine somebody who uses a tourist bus. Now, if the bus is not allowed to be fully loaded, each seat only one person or alternate seat one person, I mean, his earning becomes half, which means a 3-year, 4-year repayment kind of a product becomes a 5-year, 6-year product. So I would think that there'll be a complete resetting of the whole approach to every business will happen. And that will mean that a lot of understanding of the ground reality and bringing them back on the table to design the product or redesign the product will happen.
Well, these are difficult times, Ramesh, and you're in the hot seat. But I think you're lucky that you're part of the Mahindra Group, and therefore empathy comes naturally too. I hope to talk to you again soon in better times.
Surely.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Melt. Do follow us on social media. Our handle is Ready to Melt. You can also stay informed on what's happening in the world of advertising and marketing with our daily Melt update on our website, readytomelt.com. And I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Goodbye.